is the Health Check Show. This is sponsored by Marola Media and Communications Nigeria Limited. So every Thursdays and Fridays by 11:30 a.m., you will have them here in the studio tell you all you need to know. Don't worry, the Mind and Body segment is still where it is, but this is a sponsored show and it happens every Thursdays and Fridays by 11:30 a.m. Now we have Mariam Mohammed in the show. She will be the one to pioneer this show every Thursdays and Fridays. Welcome, Mariam.
Thank you so very much.
Trust you're doing.
Yes, it's exciting to be here, really. It is, yes. And I'm sure that the listeners are going to have a fantastic time. They're going to have amazing health information. Really amazing. Something that you can't even pay for.
All right, guys, you heard that already from the horse's mouth. Now I'll just leave Mariam Mohammed to do her thing here in the studio. Thank you again, Mariam.
Do you want to take control of your health and well-being? Do you want to share the experience of your health journey and get someone encouraged? Then the Health Check Show is your answer. You can win exciting prizes and get answers to your health-related questions live on the air. The Health Check Show with Mariam Mohammed every Thursday and Friday at 11:30 a.m. on Eagles 102.3 FM. Let's embark on this health journey together.
All right, let's embark on this health journey together. Once again, my name is Mariam Mohammed, and this is the Health Check Show. But before we get into the interview segment, talking to our medical doctor for today, I'll be giving you some health updates just to keep you in the know of what is happening in the health sector. Now, Nigeria joined the rest of the world to mark the 2023 World No Tobacco Day yesterday, May 31. Medical experts have decried tobacco use among youth in the country, stressing that it has assumed a frightening dimension. Now, according to the World Health Organization, while the number of people using tobacco products is decreasing in other parts of the world, it's rising in the African region. What is responsible for that? I have no idea. Now, health experts noted that aside from tobacco, many now use Indian hemp. They cautioned the youth to desist from the destructive act, stressing that besides destroying vital organs in the body like the liver, the lungs, Indian hemp increases 3 times the risk of mental health problems. Little wonder a lot of people are battling with this. Now, I'm not saying that it's because you're taking Indian hemp or tobacco, but yes, this is also one of the factors. World No Tobacco Day is celebrated every year on May 31 to educate the public on the dangers of using tobacco, the business practices of tobacco companies, and what the World Health Organization is doing to fight the tobacco epidemic. This year's theme is Grow Food, Not Tobacco. All right, still giving you updates in the health sector. The Chief Medical Director of the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Professor Adetokunbo Fabanwo, has refuted claims that the facility was gutted by fire. The chief medical director confirmed that there was actually a fire incident, but said that it affected just one of the shops in the hospital's commercial area. The situation was promptly brought under control through the intervention of the Lagos State Fire Service. Now, you would recall that it was reported that a building on the premises of LASUTH was gutted by fire. And finally, on the updates in the health sector, Johesu, that's the Joint Health Sector Unions and Assembly of Healthcare Professional Associations, began an indefinite strike on May 25 over the alleged federal government failure to adjust the consolidated health salary structure, CONHES, for health workers, as was done with the consolidated medical salary structure, CONMES, for physicians. Now, the unions demanded immediate payment of omissions and shortfalls in the COVID-19 hazard allowances of affected health workers in federal health institutions. They're also seeking recognition, of health workers in non-core hospital facilities in payment of the hazard allowance. They demand speedy implementation of an increase in the retirement age from 60 to 65 years and 70 years for consultants in the health profession. It is still the Health Check Show right here on Eagles 102.3 FM. Stay with us. Now, recall that about 2 months ago, the former Nigerian Deputy Senate President Ike Kremadu, his wife Beatrice, and their doctor were sentenced to prison in the United Kingdom for organ trafficking. About 2 months ago. Now, the Kremadu's 25-year-old daughter, Sonia, was diagnosed with a rare kidney disease. They called it FSGS nephrotic syndrome. It's a genetic illness that family members cannot donate their kidney because of likely occurrence. Because I know people were like, oh, so what happened to her family members? Why couldn't they, donate for her and all of that? So they had to, take a 21-year-old street trader from Lagos to the UK. He was offered up to £7,000 and promised opportunities in the UK, for helping. And the young boy said, or should I say the young man said, that he only realized what was going on, that they were going to take his half of his kidney, when he met doctors at the hospital. And the Kremadu's, or should I say Kremadu, was sentenced to 9 years and 8 months in prison. His wife Beatrice was sentenced to 4 years and 6 months of imprisonment. And Obeta, that's the doctor that served as the middleman, received a 10-year prison term, receiving the longest of the terms among the three. All right, when our doctor comes, he'll be telling us his own opinion on why Obeta got the longest jail term. And today on the Health Check Show, we'll be looking at organ donation and transplant in Nigeria, the challenges and maybe the progress made so far. All right, thank God our doctor is already with us right now in the studio, Dr. Ubong Essien. I'll just read out his profile for you. He's a senior registrar neurosurgery, National Hospital, Abuja. He's also the former vice president, Association of Resident Doctors, National Hospital, and former state coordinator, Clinical Governance Committee, Nigerian Medical Association. Good to have you on the Health Check Show.
Thank you very much, and I want to deeply apologize for coming behind schedule. I was held up in traffic with problems with fuel issues. I truly want to apologize.
We absolutely understand. I mean, almost everyone went through the process, but let's just dive straight into it, Dr. Essien. How much progress has been made so far with organ transplantation in Nigeria?
Okay, good morning, Abuja. Good morning, Nigerians. First of all, I want to say that organ transplant, it's now an international activity in the medical world. Started in 1943 when the first transplant was a transplant between a dog and a human, where kidneys were attempted. And over time, it has improved, and Nigeria has not been spared. Africa has not been spared in terms of the development or the improvement in organ transplant. And there are various types of organ transplant, but let me first of all say that organ transplant is simply the science of removing an organ from an individual or from a species to another individual or a species due to a failing organ. So you could have a transplant from either human to human, or animal to human, or animal to animal. So there are different forms, or these are the various forms of organ transplant. You could also have transplant from a deceased individual to a living individual. So the person who donates the organ is called the donor, while the individual who, or the species that receives the organ, is called the recipient. So we could also have donors from, you could also have transplant between species that are of the same species, like you have human to human, which we call the allograft. Okay, sorry, I'm going a bit deep. You could also have, within an individual, you could have organ transplanted from one part of the body to the other part of the body, which we call autograft. You could also have transplant between two identical twins, you know, succogenic graft. And then you could have transplant between a non-human and a human, xenograft. So you could have from a pig, you could have from a dog to a human being, what we call xenograft. So these are the various forms of grafts, you know, that has been, that are available. You could also have the one again, I have to mention this, between a deceased individual and then to a live individual, and then you could also have from a living individual to a living individual. That's live donor. The live donors are various forms. It could either be based on compassionate ground, good Samaritan. It could also be based on the fact that there's some form of payments done.
Is that allowed?
Yes, it is. It is. And then you could also have the coerced transplant.
Like in the case of Ikremadu.
I don't think Ekweremadu was really coerced. I think it was more of a compensatory type of donor. He understood the background with which he was being flown to the UK.
He said he didn't know.
Well, okay. Well, I wouldn't want to argue, but
yes.
I suspect he probably understood the reasons why he was going there, and probably I'm aware that money exchanged hands even between him, the doctor, and before the travel. So those are the forms of organ transplant. You could also see organ transplant in terms of the kind of organs that are being transplanted. The kidneys can be transplanted, heart can be transplanted, liver can be transplanted, skin can be transplanted. We now even have what they call bone marrow transplant for sickle cell disease patients, you know, where bone marrows of people that have AA genotype are being transplanted to them to transform their own blood group, you know, from the SS to the AA or AS. So these are the various forms of blood organ transplants that can be done. So in Nigeria, it has so many facilities now also run this organ transplant. Although they come with their challenges, being a novel practice, so the cost of the equipment for assessing compatibility, because you must assess compatibility between the donor and the recipient. So most of the challenges we have now are more of organ procurement. How do you procure the organ? So most of the problem we have are more of organ procurement. Okay, so that is the challenges we have at the moment.
So when you say organ procurement, is it there are not enough donors? People are not donating.
Okay.
What exactly is the challenge?
So first, problems with getting donors. The next problem is problems of assessing compatibilities of the organ in terms of equipment, because you must you must be sure that the recipients are compatible. Okay, so and the equipment that are required to assess, there are various tests we do. You want to do blood typing, ABO blood typing, to check if they are compatible. Those ones are a bit cheaper. The ones that are very expensive are to assess for human leukocyte antigen. Those are the things that decode if this individual can receive that organ without, having to undergo organ rejection. So problems are, first, who are the ones that will donate organ procurement? The next thing is the equipment that you require to test the compatibility, which are very expensive. The next challenge again is, after getting the organ, preservation of the organ before you transplant them to the recipient. That's another challenge again, So then the next phase of the challenge is, after you've been able to successfully transplant the organ, having to allow the recipient, have this organ in them for hours, for days, for months, for years. There are certain drugs you need to give, which the aim of those drugs is to reduce the immunity of the recipient, so that the recipient organ or recipient cells will not see that new organ as a foreign body, as an antigen, and fight it. So I've mentioned 4 various phases. The first phase is getting the donor. The second is having to scrutinize the compatibility between the recipient and the donor organ. The next thing is to preserve. I have harvested the organ. The next thing is I have to preserve this organ so this organ doesn't decay or doesn't become non-viable. And the next stage is to ensure that this organ that has been transplanted to the recipient remains viable in the recipient without undergoing rejection. So those are the stages of challenges that you could face, in organ transplant.
I believe I'll be speaking somebody's mind if I ask you this question. Is there a process, to getting a donor? Is there a process, like, say someone get diagnosed with something now and they need a transplant? What can they do?
Okay, so first thing is you must identify a facility that undertakes organ transplant. There are many in Abuja. The common ones we do here are renal transplant. So you want to first of all identify a facility that offers.
When you say renal, that's kidney
transplant. Okay, so having identified that facility, they have in-house protocol on how they can source for donor. And the options are, in Nigeria, the options are mainly live donors. In other countries, yes, we have deceased donor. Deceased donor means you have an individual who is brainstem dead, and has been confirmed to be brainstem dead. In those countries, some individuals could even write a will that, at my demise, please, so organ should be harvested and given to anybody that is in need of those organs. But we don't have those laws yet in Nigeria. So what we practice mainly is that of live donor. So your live donor could be from a relation, which the facilities, the hospitals that are saddled with the responsibility of offering those services would offer those chances to you, that, well, you can bring your relations, willing relations. On the other hand, also, these facilities can also bring compensated donors, those donors that will be paid certain amount of money or something, so they are all covered. Then we also have the Good Samaritan donors, those that want to just willfully help you, so, but those facilities have prerequisites, criteria of getting those donors to you.
Okay, we're fast running out of time, but I would like to pick on something you mentioned. That's the immunosuppressive medications, the one that helps the body not to reject the organ. I have read stories of people that actually went through the transplant process. It was successful, but they could not afford to maintain themselves with the immunosuppressive medications. What can be done? What can be done? Who should be having conversations? Who should we be talking to? Because I feel that's a major problem. I mean, if I was a philanthropist and I want to help someone go through the transplant process, and I know that they might not be able to afford, to maintain themselves even after the procedure, I might be a bit discouraged to do that. So who should we be talking to? What can we do as a country, to make sure this is available?
Okay, so I will start with, for anything you are venturing into, you must always learn to count the cost. So as a recipient of an organ, or a would-be recipient of an organ, you need to sit with your doctors, and you need to have tangible discussions with regards to the financial cost, the cost implications of what you're going into. They should give you a panoramic view of what you're going into. The second thing goes to the government. In developed nations, health insurance also covers drugs that can be used to suppress immunosuppressive drugs. So what we can do also is to plead with government to include some of these immunosuppressants, to be part of the coverage of the national health insurance scheme.
But not everyone has access to the national health insurance scheme.
Well, the beauty of national health insurance scheme is that you also have private insurance. So in which you're giving a particular cadre, particular promo. You can be paying 1,000 naira per month. You can be giving 10,000 naira, you can and you're able to access certain amount of services. But at the moment, even for the multinational, the very big organizations, I'm not sure if there's anyone that covers, coverage on immunosuppressive drugs. So part of the thing is to advocacy. Government should, expand the coverage of the national health insurance scheme, both in terms of government institutions and private institutions, to be able to cover for those medications.
All right, we have 5 minutes before we wrap up the show. We would like to hear from you. If you have questions, you have contributions, or you have just maybe say 30 seconds or 45 seconds to do that, call 090-735-30044 or 090-8766-8888. You can also send a WhatsApp message to this number 080-216-741-53. Send a text message or a WhatsApp message to that line. Even after the show, you can do that. Do we have any phone calls? All right, the phone number again, 090-735-30044, 090-8766-8888. That is a number to call. I know that this is like a very serious topic, okay? Dr. Essien, what would you say? I mean, it's time to just wrap up. What would you say to someone, that has been diagnosed with some sort of illness right now and they need a transplant, kidney transplant, liver transplant? We have a call. Okay. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, what is the name of the station? Please, I just tuned in. I will be too late. I want to know the name of the station.
This is Eagles FM.
Sorry?
This is Eagles FM. Do you have a question or a contribution? All right, caller. This is Eagles 102.3 FM. Eagles 102.3 FM. And this is the Health Check Show. The Health Check Show comes your way every Thursday and Friday at 11:30 a.m. All right? Okay, Dr. Essien. Someone has, gotten a diagnosis and we have another call. Okay, sorry about that. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Okay, just send a message to 080-216-74153. You can send a text message or a message using the WhatsApp platform. All right, let's wrap this up. What words do you have for someone, who is going through stuff like that?
Okay, so first things first is identify hospitals
Okay.
that can offer those services, and speak with your doctor, and they are the ones that would offer um, donor services. They'll tell you what you can do to get donors, and then you can go on to have your procedures done. So first thing is to identify those facilities, and then have those facilities screen the donors, and do your compatibility testing to be sure that those organs would be compatible for you. So those are the key things you would need. I forgot to mention there are certain things you must also, for the things that are contraindicated to be a donor. Someone who is HIV positive can donate. Someone who has certain infections that are not curable. People who have malignancies, advanced stages of malignancy. Malignancy means cancer, any state of cancer, because you don't want to harvest an organ and end up, transplanting that organ and the same infections to, the recipient. So there are certain criteria, HIV infections, malignancy, which will always screen out. So donors who have these infections are not eligible to donate their organs.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ubong Essien, for coming on the Health Check show today. So this kind of complex problem requires creative thinking and engagement across board, and we're calling on foundations, philanthropies, community support groups to come together and see how we can help people who are in situations like this, especially with the immunosuppressants. Thank you so much for joining us on the Health Check show today. My name remains Mariam Mohammed.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.